Producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, connecting you with top performing agents for 2% commission. Each week, we bring you exclusive interviews with industry experts, covering everything from staging to negotiation strategies to home inspection issues and everything in between. Whether you're selling your home, a first-time home buyer, or a seasoned investor, we've got you covered. Let's make your real estate dreams a reality in this fast-moving and ever-changing real estate market. This program is funded in whole or in part by Trusted Agent USA, Illinois license number 475-145-795. Now, here's Larry.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are happy to have you once again joining us for the Real Estate Radio Show this Saturday morning. And this is our, I believe it's July 20th. Devin. Okay. Devin's on the board for us this morning. So again, thanks for joining us today. Real Estate Radio Show, July 20th edition. My name's Larry Shakman. I am going to be your host and real estate therapist for the next hour. So as always, we have a lot to talk about. I, of course, am a broker here in Chicago Metro, and I'm the COO at Luxe Group, lpt Realty, a great group of realtors at a great real estate company. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I want to dive into the show because we're guest free today, but we have a lot to talk about. As always, real estate is always a fast moving market. There's always things going on. Everybody always is interested in, hey, what's going on with interest rates? What's going to get my house sold the fastest for the most amount of money? That's what everybody's always interested in, right? And we're going to touch on some of those things today. Before we jump in, I just want to thank last week's guest, Michael LaFido, for stopping by and really taking a deep dive into the luxury market. And, the luxury market actually is moving pretty good right now. Easily just as well and just as quickly as the bread and butter market, which we, typically we used to call between 350 and 450. And now I think the bread and butter market is more like 450 to 600. So, prices have gone up that much. And we'll get into that a little bit too. But yeah, Michael joined us last week. We took a deep dive into luxury. And the good news is the second Saturday of every month, Michael is going to be joining us for what we're going to call selling luxury. And we're going to be talking about and taking a look at the luxury market, not just locally here in the Chicago metro market, but also nationally and internationally. You may or may not know or remember from last week, but Michael is a luxury coach as well as a luxury broker. So he teaches other agents and other brokerages how to tap into that luxury market. And if you're an agent, raise your GCI. And we teach everybody that at Luxe Group. So if you're looking to sell a luxury property, look no further than Luxe Group at lpt Realty. And of course, you can reach us directly all the time at 630-921-0611. And by the way, if you're tuning in today, we like to say this every week. Real estate is a full contact sport. I don't care if you're buying, if you're selling, if you're helping someone buy or sell, if you're an attorney representing somebody, a broker representing somebody. This is a full contact sport, and you got to jump in with both feet, especially if you are an agent and you're representing a buyer or seller in what is most likely the largest purchase of their life. This is, it's important to really stay focused and communicate. I tell all of the agents on our team, over communicate. over communicating is way better than under communicating. So really important to keep everybody, up to date and what's going on with their transaction. And, people communicate differently. Some clients like to communicate by email. Some clients like to communicate by, give me a call, ring me up on my cell phone, text me. Find that sweet spot, how your client likes to communicate, and over communicate. Keep them on top of everything that's going on in that transaction. And in that same vein, again, full contact sport. So if you guys are tuning in today, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, where we stream live every single weekend, every single Saturday, be sure to give us a call if you have anything you want to get off your chest as far as real estate goes, as far as what we're talking about. 773-763-9278. You can text us or call us at that number. And again, that's 773-763-9278. We'd love to hear from you guys and see what's going on in your real estate life. There's a lot going on out there as far as interest rates and everything else goes. We don't have a guest this week, like I said, but we are going to be jumping around a couple of different subject matters. Remember, if we hit on something that you're interested in or you'd like to join the conversation, 773-763-9278. Hey, we're on TikTok too, so you can join us there as well. So, again, my name's Larry Shakman. I'm a broker here in Chicago Metro. And hey, I want to remind everybody that the last Saturday of every month, we have what's called our influencers panel. Now, on our influencers panel, we, sometimes we have 2 or 3 people. Sometimes we'll only have one guest, depending on the subject matter. Well, next week, the 27th, we're going to be joined by a couple of guys that really, really know their stuff, huge influencers in this real estate space. And we're going to talk about what's coming down the pike August 17th. So August 17th is when the new rules kick in regarding the Department of Justice class action lawsuit, where realtors are now, the MLS now is not going to be able to display what the co-op commission is. That is the commission that the seller agrees to pay the buyer's agent when they bring a buyer to the table. Now, there's just a lot of controversy around this whole thing. Bottom line is, this all kicks in August 17th, and we have to be prepared for it. Agents have to be prepared for it. Sellers have to be prepared for it. Buyers have to be prepared for it. And because there are some changes coming. And we have Patrick Loftus with us and Wayne Paprocki that are going to join us on July 27th. And that is going to be the kickoff of our influencers panel. And we are going to really drill down and talk about exactly how is this going to affect sellers, buyers, agents, and the real estate market in general. A lot of people think not many changes, probably not a lot that's going to happen that you're going to see, right in front of you, and maybe kind of some underlying changes, but not much. Other people say it's going to make all the difference in the world, and it's going to change the way we sell real estate. I don't think so. But as a matter of fact, I think most things are going to stay kind of the same. The biggest changes coming down the pike is that, if you're a buyer's agent and you're working with a buyer, you cannot show them a home without first having a buyer agency agreement with that buyer. If you don't, then you're breaking what is the new rule in real estate. You must have a buyer agency agreement, a written agreement with that buyer before you show them any homes. So there's some confusion about that, and Wayne and Patrick will clear that up in terms of, well, here's an agent hosting an open house, and somebody, a interested buyer, comes to see that property where that open house is being hosted. And do I need to have them sign a buyer's agreement with me before they enter that door to look at that house at that open house? And there's some confusion about that. And we're going to clear it all up for you. On July 27th, we're kicking off our influencers panel with Wayne Paprocki, who is he's a national trainer, but he's also the former president of NASBAR, which is the North Shore Barrington Association of Realtors. So Wayne's been in this business for a long, long time, one of the smartest guys in real estate I know, and he's going to be able to really help us drill this down. And also Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law, who is a prominent real estate attorney here in Chicago Metro. He's also going to help us drill this down. Patrick did a whole series of videos on TikTok covering this subject matter exclusively, and that is the DOJ case, how it's going to affect real estate moving forward. Is it going to affect real estate moving forward? And we're going to see, only time will tell. So Patrick and Wayne will be joining us next Saturday, July 27th for our influencers panel. And we are going to be drilling down the Department of Justice lawsuit that is imposing some serious new rules when it comes to the new real estate, the new normal in real estate, which again, personally, I don't really see it changing much, but it's definitely going to make a difference on some level. So we'll really drill that down next week, and that's going to be a great way to kick off our influencers panel. So let's see. What's the question of the day today? So the question of the day today is this. Remember, if you guys are tuning in, whether it be on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, or you're watching on TikTok, you can give us a call at 773-763-9278. We'd love to hear from you. And the question of the day today is this. What's the main thing stopping you from selling your home? So if you're thinking about selling your home, but you're still sitting on the sidelines, what is the reason for that? Is it because interest rates are still too high and you're sitting on a really low interest rate right now that maybe you got a few years ago? You're sitting on a 3% interest rate. Hey, I can't say I blame you. Interest rates have come down a little. We're going to talk about that. But, maybe that's one of the reasons you're not selling. Maybe another reason you're not selling is because affordability, it's a whole new ballgame when it comes to affordability in the home buying market. So you're kind of getting less for your money right now. With interest rates being higher than they have been in the last several years. Having said that, interest rates, right now, historically are not high. But comparatively speaking, to what we've seen in the last several years, and actually going back a few years, they're much higher than they were when they were, 2.5% and 3%. So maybe that's why you're not selling. You don't want to get into a 6.5% or 7% mortgage. We're going to drill that down a little bit later in the show as well, as far as interest rates go. But yeah, what's the main thing stopping you from selling your home now? If you're thinking about it, but you're kind of on the fence still, what's stopping you from doing it? Give us a call at 773-763-9278 and let's talk about it. So the market is active. You know, there's a lot of buyer activity out there, even with interest rates being higher than they have been in the, I would say, last 3-4 years, and really going back a couple years is when they really hit rock bottom. There's a lot of buyer activity out there still. I can tell you, I have a property on the market in Evanston, and we have other properties, spread out throughout the Chicago metro area. But I mentioned this property in Evanston specifically. It is a townhome that's listed at about $489,900. Pretty much in move-in condition, maybe a little bit of cosmetic updating, but pretty much good to go. You can just open the door, move in, let the dog out in the backyard. And we have just been getting a ton of showings on this property. We've been on the market about 20 days. And I would say we've probably had 24 showings in 20 days. Now, you ask, why hasn't it sold? Because in the recent past, these houses would fly off the market. Market time, median average market time has increased because inventory has increased. So buyers have more opportunity to look around and take their time a little more. So I think that's one of the reasons why, the median average marketing time for a home to sell has gone up. And that one of the reasons is inventory has gone up. But, as always, if you price your home right, it's going to sell pretty quickly in this market or any other market. And it really doesn't even matter the condition as long as you price it right. Hey, we are going to take a quick 30-second break and we will be right back with the Real Estate Radio Show.
Tune in to Real Estate Radio, Saturdays at 9 a.m., hosted by the real estate therapist Larry Shakman, a top-producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com. Top-performing agents for 2% commission, saving you thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Real Estate Radio, the ultimate real estate radio experience. Get insider tips from experts throughout the real estate industry. Streaming live on Facebook at WCPT 820. Trusted Agent USA, Illinois, license number 475-145795. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio, sponsored in part by TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, saving you thousands. Now back to Larry, the real estate therapist.
All right, we are back. Thanks again for joining us this Saturday, the 20th of July, and you are listening to the Real Estate Radio Show. My name's Larry Shakman. I'm your host and real estate therapist. Until 10 o'clock, we're here every Saturday from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we're happy to have you here, and we hope you join us every Saturday. So we recently, my partner and I, Michael Lafito, recently moved our group to Luxe Group to lpt Realty. One of the reasons we did it is because of the massive reach and massive amount of marketing that we can offer our sellers now when selling their home. So important. We have this we focus on marketing not only on social media, which is of course important, but we focus on print marketing too, because print marketing is very sticky. It sticks with people. It lands on their coffee tables, and people like to pick it up, look at it, feel it, touch it. It's more than just here and gone on your computer screen. So we combine print marketing with social media as well as other types of marketing to really focus on the seller's product, which is their house, and getting it out there in front of the public in many different ways. So again, if you guys are looking for to really maximize your marketing and make sure you're getting it in front of buyers who are more than likely willing and able to buy your home, then give us a call, 630-921-0611. We'll show you exactly how to do that. We have several things that we do that are a little different than others. We have a contract to close service where once your property's under contract, it is, our attorneys, number one, are going to handle everything for you at our team's expense. So we provide closing attorneys, contract to close services, among other things like virtual staging, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, because virtual staging can be very important, but you have to be careful how you do it. And there's some rules behind the way you do it as well. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. So like I mentioned, as always, the market's active, lots of buyers out there. Inventory is increasing. It's up about a little over 2% over last year. So it's moving in the right direction, but we are still pretty depleted of inventory. We're nowhere near where we want to be, nowhere near where we were before the pandemic. So pre-pandemic inventory was much higher than inventory now. People had more choices, buyers had more choices, and but we're inching our way back slowly but surely. So that's a good thing because it gives buyers more opportunity, more choices, and it stabilizes the market. So a good, stable real estate market where prices aren't going up precipitously and affordability is just blowing people out of the water when it comes to even having an opportunity to buy a home. We are seeing that kind of tamp down right now just because inventory is rising and hopefully interest rates continue to go down. So let's get into just some of the things we're looking at right now in the real estate market. So existing home sales plunged to their lowest level since 1995. So I don't want you to get too alarmed by that, because one of the reasons for that specifically is what we just mentioned, and that is low inventory. We don't have enough houses on the market to sell. So, if the product's not out there, then and there's nothing to sell, you're going to have fewer sales. And that's really what we're experiencing right now. So yeah, home sales have plunged to their lowest since 1995. And I think, we're going to see that increase. And the reason why we're going to see that increase is because we're going to see more inventory come on the market. And I think that's going to loosen things up a little bit, increase the number of sales that, quantitatively we'll see an increase in that number, and slowly but surely, I think. But at least we're headed in the right direction. I think people are getting more comfortable and more real about the fact that, hey, we're not going to see 2% and 3% interest rates again. I don't think. So I think people are getting a little bit more used to that. So what exactly are the two biggest barriers to home ownership? Well, in a recent survey, the two biggest barriers to home ownership, really, they came out with limited housing inventory, which is what we just discussed, and affordability. So limited housing inventory coupled with affordability have really made it difficult, particularly for first-time home buyers, to take the plunge and get into home ownership because, it's just been difficult for home buyers because even if they want to buy a home, even if they're in the financial position to move forward and purchase a property, they can't, it's hard for them to do because there's just not a lot of properties on the market. And if you're a first time home buyer just entering the home buyer market, and you're in that $300,000 to $400,000 range, you are really the inventory. I don't want to use the word bleak, but I will. There's not a lot of inventory out there in that market. Very quickly, the $300,000 single family home is going the way of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It is going to be absolutely nowhere to be found somewhere down the line here. There are still some really good values out there. There are still some properties that you're going to find out there under 350, but not a lot. Not a lot of single family homes are you going to find under $350,000. Now, you can find condos, you can find duplexes, but as far as single family homes go, the 350 and under single family home is really, really getting difficult. This is what's making it difficult for first-time home buyers, because that first-time home buyer entry level price is going up, and it continues to go up. So we'll see how that all plays out in the future. But yeah, the two biggest barriers to home ownership are limited housing inventory and affordability. Now, affordability, let's take a look at that and what's happened in the recent years in terms of housing affordability. Look, everything's gone up in price, and thankfully, prices are starting to level off. They're starting to, get a little easier to deal with, but they're still too high. And in the housing market and other places, when you go shopping, your prices are still too high. I think personally that has more to do with corporations just continuing to inflate prices, and you get less product for more money. And the only way that changes, and we're seeing it change now a little bit, is people stop buying their products at ridiculous prices, getting less of the product for more money. And sooner or later, corporations start lowering their prices because they see the volumes of their sale going down. So really important that, we don't keep continuing to shell out in, huge dollars, inflated prices, and because they're just going to keep charging those prices. Now, the good news is inflation has began to kind of cool off a little bit. So we're right around 3% right now, annualized inflation. So that's a good thing. We've come down from, I don't know exactly what the number was, but I want to say somewhere like 8.3, 8.5% inflation. We're at about 3% inflation right now, which is good. It's not good enough. We want to get down to that target of 2%. But how's inflation affecting you guys? Give us a call, 773-763-9278. And how is inflation affecting you? And how is that affecting your decision whether to sell your home and buy a new home or jump in to the home buying market? Is it affecting your decision to do that? Or are there other reasons that you're not jumping in right now? So we'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on right now out there. And of course, one of the big things we're all looking at is inflation. So we'll dive into that a little bit too, a little more a couple minutes from now. So, like we said, inflation, as far as affordability and inventory, it's putting a damper on home ownership, specifically, I think, for first-time home buyers. And I think that's something we're going to have to keep our eye on. And hopefully, with interest rates potentially coming down, we'll see. Hey, we have a call from Steve, and Steve's on the Gold Coast. Hey, Steve, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. I want to make a couple of points with regard to inflation.
Yeah, please.
I do think that there is certainly concern with regard to not just first-time homeowners, but anyone looking perhaps to upgrade, to move, whatnot. I mean, the reality is that, like many of us, we know someone who during, COVID and so forth got into a home, sometimes for as low as 2.7, 2.8, 2.9%. And the reality is that despite the fact that we've seen a dramatic cut in inflation going from 9.1 to about 3% and heading south, it is extremely unlikely that you're ever going to see interest rates at that level again, which essentially means that, you've got people who got into those homes and, they were a bit inflated with regard to their values. But over the lifetime of a 20, 30-year loan, you're obviously going to make that up in interest that you don't pay.
Absolutely.
So, but the downside of that, of course, is that, who's going to want to get out of that home? I mean, if you bought a $500,000 home and got in at 2.8%, okay, now, in addition to costing more, an upgrade to a bigger home, whatnot, let's say a $700,000 home, is not just $200,000, it's $700,000 at the new interest rate, which is significantly higher than that 2.7.
Yeah.
So this presents a problem. I mean, for the economy and going forward, it means that, quite frankly, a generation of Americans are going to be sitting in that home. It's going to be great for the home improvement industry, add-ons and renovations and so forth over the next 20 years. But it is going to impact us. The other part of this, and this is from a different perspective, we now know that, a lot of corporate greed was responsible for the inflation we saw. Corporations realized Americans knew that, inflation was going up. There's organic inflation, the kind of inflation that comes from added cost of materials and labor and so forth. And then there's just inflation that comes from greed. So if you know that people have accepted the idea that things are going to cost more, then you know what you do as a corporation? You make what you're selling a little bit smaller. You give them less.
Exactly.
Or two, you simply add on to what the existing inflation, because Americans are already being told, well, hey, things are going up. So, hey, what are you going to do? They're not going to sit there and dissect like an economist would and say, wait. This is up 25%, but this doesn't make any sense. Only about 12% of that should be from organic inflation. The rest of it is just pure greed. This company it's not costing them that much more. So these are all the problems.
These are, Steve, these are all great points, and you're spot on. I have to say, I agree with you with everything you just said. When inflation first hit and we really had, it just went through the roof, right? It had a lot to do with supply side and the pandemic and all that, right? But when all of that subsided and our supply side issues kind of went away, the prices kept going up, right? And I think that what you spoke to is spot on and hit right on it, because listen, if a corporation knows you're going to continue to pay these high prices and get less product, are they going to bring their prices down? No. They're not.
Absolutely. Now, the good news is, not just, with regard to keeping track of what's going on in the economy from think about, what's going on and doing something like buying a car. A few years ago, you walked onto a car lot. I mean, forget about the sticker. It used to be the case that, okay, this is the sticker price now. What can I negotiate down from that? A couple of years ago, you went in and this is the sticker price. Forget about it. You're not paying that. You're going to be paying the 3, 4, 5 over that.
Yeah.
And because that's where things stand. But today, Now you're seeing incentives are back.
Yep.
Hey, buy this, we'll give you this APR. This. So yeah, the world corrects itself as it should.
And the other thing
again.
Yeah, the other thing we're dealing with is we're in an election year, right? So all bets are off in an election year. We never know what surprises are coming, in October or right before the election that can really affect markets and move markets. So it'll be interesting to see where this all goes moving forward. But Steve, I think you make some amazing points. I really do.
And I think that you're right with regard to our perceptions of this. So a lot of people think that, okay, inflation is a huge issue. Why? Because I'm paying 25% more than I did 4 years ago for things. Oh, and somehow in their minds, unless things go back to those price levels, then inflation is going to continue to be a problem. That never works. Okay, so the last thing that you want beyond inflation can be bad, but deflation means that you're in a collapsed economy where demand has disappeared. So you have to unload everything at below what the market value.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't want that. The question you have to ask yourself as a consumer, what am I making now versus what I was making 4 years ago? And then where are prices? That's how you gauge whether or not you're ahead of the game, not just simply saying, well, things are up. Okay, well, but most of us are making significantly more than we were 4 years ago. So that's how you've got to measure this. But this idea that inflation is a problem until things go back to 2020 prices, no.
Forget it.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah, never going to happen. Steve, great points. Thanks for tuning in. Keep listening.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was Steve from the Gold Coast. And I think Steve made some, great points. And it's something, all of those points are things that we need to consider moving forward. We're going to take a quick 30-second break, and we will be back with more Real Estate Radio Show.
Tune in to Real Estate Radio Saturdays at 9 a.m. hosted by the real estate therapist Larry Shakman, a top-producing real estate broker, author, CEO, and founder of TrustedAgentUSA.com. Top-performing agents for 2% commission, saving you thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Real Estate Radio, the ultimate real estate radio experience. Get insider tips from experts throughout the real estate industry. Streaming live on Facebook at WCPT 820. Trusted Agent USA, Illinois, license number 475-145-795. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio, sponsored in part by TrustedAgentUSA.com, the ultimate real estate matchmaker, saving you thousands. Now back to Larry, the real estate therapist.
All right, everybody, we are back. Thanks again for joining us. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Show on a Saturday, July 20th. 2024. There's a lot going on in the real estate market. Let's take a quick look at mortgage rates. Okay. So everybody's always interested in mortgage rates. Me and Steve were just talking about how, we're never going back to the 2.7, 2.5 interest rate. It's not happening. I do think we may be in for a Fed rate cut in the next couple of months, but we'll have to see what happens. But a lot of economic indicators are pointing to that. So we'll see what happens. But, a Fed rate cut doesn't always mean that mortgage rates are going to drop. So they don't always correlate. But often they do. So we'll just have to see what happens. We may see a Fed rate drop. And we'll just have to keep our eyes on that. But, a couple of the reasons that it's possible we might see a rate drop is the job market has cooled off. Believe it or not, so unemployment is up to about 4.1%. And that actually points to more of a possibility of a Fed rate cut because the job market isn't so overheated. So that's something that, we're going to have to take a look at and just see what happens with that. Because listen, none of us can predict any of these things. It's not easy to do. The market is fluid. It's always changing. Like we said, particularly in an election year. We do know the stock market is still going nuts. We're still at almost 41,000. And, so Wall Street's doing great. Main Street's starting to come back as inflation drops and as hopefully prices continue to stabilize or drop, and we'll be in good shape. So right now, what are we looking at as far as interest rates? Well, interest rates really have not moved since last week. They are really right about the same. So if you're looking at a 30-year fixed, you're looking at somewhere around 6.8 in that vicinity. And FHA, VA, and 15-year fixed are anywhere from, I'd say, 6.3 to 6.8, depending on what product you're looking at. So interest rates really have stayed pretty consistent and for a while now. And they've actually come down a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but they've stabilized now over the last week. And you're looking at just somewhere around 6.5%. So that's a good thing. And hopefully they'll keep coming down. You know, a lot of buyers are sitting on the sideline waiting for their lock rate to kick in. So what's a lock rate? That's a rate that a buyer feels comfortable locking their mortgage interest rate in at. And you know, guys, most economists will tell you if you try and wait out the market, I don't care what market it is, but particularly the real estate market, the interest rate market, if you try and play that waiting game and get in right at the right time, continue renting until until that rate gets to where you're comfortable moving forward, pulling the trigger and entering the home buying market, you're probably leaving a ton of money on the table, flushing money down the toilet renting. Because listen, you have one of two ways to pay a mortgage. You could either pay your own mortgage and own your own home and reap the benefits of a home that goes up in value while you're paying it down, or you can pay somebody else's mortgage and they're going to reap the same rewards based on your paying off their mortgage. So it's never a good idea to rent in my eyes. You know, some people feel differently, especially since homeownership affordability has gone up. And it's actually rent and homeownership have now, you know, a lot of people, you could chop these numbers up any number of different ways and make them say and look how you want them to look. But a lot of people look at these numbers and go, hey, it's no more expensive to rent than it is to buy a home right now. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true because you're not going to see any return on that rental dollar. You will see a return almost inevitably on your purchase dollar when you buy a home. So renting for me is never an option, regardless of the interest rate. The first home I bought, my interest rate was 7.5%. So again, bottom line, interest rates, we're never going to see 3% interest rates again. Right now, they're not bad, sitting around just, let's say, an average of around 6.5, 6.6%, depending on the product that you're using to purchase your home. And I would move forward. So one of the things I wanted to look at today, and real quickly, we're going to go over this. So I was a very large REO broker in Illinois, worked closely with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and others, and help them dissolve, for lack of a better word, their foreclosure inventory when we were just going nuts from 2008 to about 2017. At any given time during those years, I could have up to as many as 500 foreclosures in my inventory, which was like herding cats. But what I want to take a look at right now in an REO and foreclosure market that really is not that big right now. There aren't a lot of foreclosures on the market. There aren't a lot of short sales on the market. When I was in that niche, I would say 60% of the market easily was short sales and foreclosures. Now they're rare when you find them. But we are looking at we're going to take a look at 5 markets where foreclosures and evictions are rising fastest. So in these 5 American cities, that's where foreclosures and evictions are rising fastest, specifically evictions. And remember, a lot of these evictions are evictions that were kind of caught in the system with COVID and are now just coming out, especially in judicial foreclosure states like Illinois. Other states, if you get foreclosed on, you have 3 months to get out of your house. In Illinois, if you get foreclosed on, you could still be in your house 4 years later. So, and still working it out with the bank and all kinds of other things. So depending on where you are, like we always say, all real estate is local. Depending on where you are, if you're unfortunate enough to be in this situation of possibly going into foreclosure or, God forbid, being evicted, it's really just all local and depends on, hey, what are the how does foreclosure and eviction work in your local market? But in these 5 American cities, this is where evictions are on the rise the fastest. So first off, number 1, Gainesville, Florida. Gainesville, Florida is a college town. It's probably best known for University of Florida and Tom Petty. And there were 1,627 eviction filings as of June. Now, this is a 46% surge relative to pre-pandemic evictions. So that's Gainesville, Florida. The next is Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Great area. They've seen 11,696 filings this year, which is a 44% increase. That's huge, folks, compared to, a typical level that we saw before the pandemic. Now, the next area where we're seeing a great increase in evictions is Las Vegas, Nevada. Excuse me. I used to, I lived in Henderson, Nevada for a while, and Las Vegas has seen a 43% leap in evictions. Now, and check this number out. 47,741 filings so far this year. That is huge. That is absolutely off the charts. And I'm hoping we can get all of the, I'll tell you something, although it's off the charts, it's nowhere near what it was like 2008 to 2016 even. Nowhere near that. Those days, thankfully, are gone and in our rearview mirror. But there's still a lot of evictions happening. So the next town, Houston, Texas, a 42% surge in evictions. Now, Texas is one of those places where if you get foreclosed on and you get an eviction notice, you do not have a lot of time. So you have to be on top of it and ready to make some hard decisions where, like we said, in Illinois, a judicial foreclosure state, you have a lot more time when it comes to the whole foreclosure process. Finally, we have Columbus, Ohio, which is a 35% surge. And that is also, comparatively speaking, to pre-pandemic levels. And they've seen about a little over 35,000 eviction filings this year. Again, that's actually about a 37% increase. So again, we're not in the position we were when the whole real estate market melted down for other reasons, 2008 to 2016. But they're still out there. They're still happening. People are still experiencing these difficult times. And it's sad to see, but thankfully, it's not as bad as it was. So the other thing I wanted to talk about real quickly here before we wrap it up today is something we call virtual staging. So if you're on the market and you find that your house is sitting on the market and not selling as quickly as you like, virtual staging is something that you may want to consider and talk to your agent about. Now, at Luxe Group at LPT, we offer that service for free. So what is virtual staging? And we offer that service for free to all of our sellers. And what is virtual staging? It is staging a room virtually with furniture, paint, window covering, whatever, and making that room look, bringing it to above average marketing condition. And why do you want to do this? You want to give prospective buyers the ability to kind of see that room and not just put a room that has no furniture, a picture of a room with no furniture on the MLS or in other social media platforms. You want a picture on there that shows a room that is really put together well and shows how that room can be lived in. So you got to be careful how you do it. Whenever you use a virtually staged photo, you have to let people know that this is a virtually staged photo. And it's a great tool. We have found that it's a great tool to use at Luxe Group at LPT, and that's why we have incorporated it into our menu of services that we offer our sellers for free, along with free closing, contract to close services, free closing attorney, a lot of other things as well. So you guys, hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the Real Estate Radio Show. We appreciate you calling, tuning in on WCPT 820 AM. We're here every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. Stay tuned for Art and Bobby. Hey, listen, at what's it called, Devin? Where are they now? They'll be on in a second. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. My name's Larry Shakman. I'm your host, the Real Estate Radio Show. We'll see you next Saturday.
Thanks for joining us on Real Estate Radio with your host, Larry Shakman, the real estate therapist and top producing broker. Now, go to trustedagentUSA.com and save thousands when you sell, buy, or invest. Illinois license number 475.